Urgent, topical, and timely. Power Breakfast with Tessa Dooms, 6 to 9 a.m.
When we talk about housing, land grabs, informal settlements proliferation, you would almost think that people want to live in these kind of circumstances. And we all know, just our gut feeling tells us, that that's not what is ideal for anyone. No one is dying to one day live in an informal settlement with somebody coming to your shack to sell you $350 worth of electricity. And so why is it that we've ended up here? I think the root cause is that we have given away power to people who are not solving it for us. I'm going to start with our guest today, Axolile Notywala, who is a city councillor in the city of Cape Town for the Good Party, who's raised a debate this week on different social media platforms about the quality of our politics and the ways in which it is not serving the majority for the ends of social justice. Axolile, thank you so much for joining us this morning. You've been involved in social justice initiatives in civil society for a long time. What made you go to politics, and do you think that that was the right move, given how politics is failing so many?
Good morning to you and the listeners, and thank you, Tessa. I got into politics in 2024 electoral politics, but I've been involved in political activism since 2008. And at the time, it was because, it was prompted by the xenophobic attacks in 2008, and realizing that a lot of the issues, challenges that people were complaining about were actually service delivery challenges. It's just that with there's a lot that we put against foreign nationals in terms of the challenges that we have in South Africa. And so that's what got me into politics at that time.
And you've gotten into politics now, but you've also been quite critical of politics and politicians, even though you are now a career politician, as it were. It's your job every day to be a politician. Do you think that politics is really the route to go if you want to solve issues like housing and land that you've been fighting for many years?
Yes. I think electoral politics is important. State power is important. I had been working on the outside as an activist since 2008, as I said, so that's been about 15, 16 years. There's some changes that we contributed to, but in terms of systemic, large-scale changes, we cannot do that if we don't have the right people inside, people who listen, people who care, but people who do the right implementation. But not only care about the most vulnerable and the most marginalized in our society. Because what we have to realize is that inequality is unsustainable for any society.
Yeah.
And South Africa is already the most unequal country in the world. And so if we get into politics to only sustain ourselves and our privilege, we continue to contribute to the dangers of poor people rising up and getting up once they are really, really, really fed up.
But what is the antidote to this? Because joining the political fray for many people is just a way to fortify it, right? You're just joining what people might call the establishment. You've made a critique this week that elite politicians have captured our systems and are not serving the majority. But have you not just become one of those people in that system? And how do you then make any efforts of changing it?
So it's not just the elite politicians. And the point that I made in the podcast with Chester was that we have an elite inside politics and outside politics who protect themselves because there's that privilege. And it's also now a black elite, which, it's good that we have a black middle class, but we now have people who are there to protect their own privilege. And that's the danger. If you talk about this issue of the housing crisis, for example, the reason why people are occupying land is because they've been failed. We have a growing housing crisis. And majority of those who can afford to live in places such as Cape Town, I'm speaking for those and in solidarity with those who cannot afford. And part of that was criticizing what Kaya Ranga had said about service delivery in Cape Town, because we don't have one Cape Town, we have two Cape Towns. But Kaya Ranga was speaking for the other Cape Town, the privileged Cape Town, the majority white Cape Town. And so even if we get into electoral politics, I've gotten into electoral politics not to assimilate to people who are there, but to disrupt the space and create a different type of politic that is grounded in care and solidarity and mutual aid.
And how does that look different on a day-to-day basis from other kinds of politics? And why should we trust you?
I'm an activist, and I continue to say that I'm an activist. And I believe that any oppositional politician should be an activist, because we are not in government per se. We are in part of governance, but we must be activists, and that means what we take care of and what we put across as topical is things that we listen to from people. I stay in Salt River in Cape Town. I sort of say I sleep in Salt River because I spend a lot of my time in Khayelitsha, because that's where the issues is. So
and that's where you were born and raised.
That's where I was born and raised. On a daily basis, I'm there. I'm in Khayelitsha. I'm engaging on issues. I go to the Cape Flats. I go to the townships. I only come back to Salt River to sleep, and I take all those things into council, because that's my role as an activist in council.
All right, Tapelo from Teresa Park, you want to join this conversation about party politics particularly, and how do we start to assess and change it?
Yes, Misty. I think, sometimes we just follow without questioning the parties, right? We give them the constituency, we give them the mandate, but as soon as they get the power, they forget about the people on the ground. And, I'm asking myself, how often do we protest against the parties that we voted for?
Yeah.
You get what I'm saying? And take them to task, challenge them. We can take it to the street, small communities, and say, we are not happy with the decisions that you are making. For an example, if you are going to reject the budget, you are hurting us as citizens, because our kids are not going to get the feeding scheme in the schools. The health system is going to be compromised and all that, despite everything that is happening. So we need to stop this follower mentality, challenge the parties that we are voting for.
And particularly the parties that you actually did vote for, Tapelo, because we want to protect the parties we voted for as opposed to holding them accountable. And in a party-driven system like ours, the best people to hold the ANC accountable are actually ANC voters. The best people to hold the DA's feet to the fire are actually DA voters. And Axolile, I want to bring that question back to you. So you've entered into the terrain now of being a party politician. How do we start to change the ways in which party politics or electoral politics runs? What is your vision or your suggestions now that you are in the arena about how to change this so that we have a more accountable politics to the people, not just to party bosses?
Sure. Just firstly, before I get to that, the expectation from many, and this is why I talk about this issue of class and privilege. Even if you go on X now, you hear people, why are South Africans not angry? Why are South Africans not protesting? Because the expectation is that poor people should be doing that. And so they're already burdened with trying to survive and trying to live. And there's an expectation from the middle and upper class that poor people should be the ones that are starting protesting. And when poor people are being shot at by the police, no one is there to protect them. And so it becomes important that, and I wrote an article before the 2024 election, that we have social capital. Many of us, you have social capital, I have social capital. It is that social capital that we must use to try and bring those who have been neglected into the fold.
But how do we use party politics to do that, or the electoral politics system? How do we change it so that we get that right?
Sure. part of it is what the caller has been saying, that we must call out our own political parties when they are straying aside. But also, we need to bring in more people. We have people who have been in the political arena since 1994. We have members of parliament who have been there since 1994 who are still members of parliament. We need to bring in new people. We need to bring in fresh people, people who are not necessarily, who don't consider themselves career politicians, but people who do care about the country, and create that space. But for us to bring them in, we need to disrupt the space. The space needs to change. We can't bring them into a system that is corrupted, which is the party political system currently, which I'm in, which some of us are in. It's corrupted, and we need to disrupt and shift things so that we can be able to invite others to try and bring a different politics, again, grounded on the politics of care and solidarity and mutual aid.
I guess, Axolile, that call for more people to join party politics will be met with a lot of resistance. People will say, well, if the system is corrupted, what makes you think that we can change it? Other people might say it's just simply dangerous to go into that field. But I think that I agree with you that unless we go and disrupt the arena, as Theodore Roosevelt called it, we won't actually have any other options but picking between better devils, which is where our politics has landed us. But thank you for provoking us to think about these things in a different way there.